Hare Hare Krishna. So the idea is now we will have like a half an hour talk and narration about Srila Prabhupada. And the idea was actually if someone wants to say something about Srila Prabhupada, not offering, but some Prabhupada then you have a chance. Who would like to say something? No?
I would, but I don't know what to say.
You don't like to say. You just like to say something. You all like to say something. But there's so many things to say about Srila Prabhupada and the life of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the board.
Well, this was when I had a dream about that when I first came to Krishna consciousness, and the dream was that I was chased by a demon, and this demon was like a goat, long hair and everything, and big horns, and he was chasing me in the school where I was studying music, and he was like entering from room to room, and I was like running around seeking protection. And when I entered one of the rooms, I saw Prabhupada sitting there with the Saraswati and the Vedas in front of him. He had eyeglasses on. And when he saw me, he just looked at me, and I hid behind Prabhupada. And when he saw the demon entering, he started to chant or recite the verses from the Vedas very, very loudly. And then all of a sudden, the demon, this goat demon, started to shrink and screaming like anything. And many years later, I saw, or I also read about this, the movie that the ISKCON devotees made, when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had also like taken away a demon just by reciting the Vedas. So after that, it confirmed me that Prabhupada has this power to like even entering into the dream and save you from all kinds of demons that are chasing you. And this was in the early, I came to the movement 1992. And this just happened a few months after that I joined the movement. So I felt really Prabhupada's protection in that way. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai!
I'm thinking back when actually the first Vyasapuja of Prabhupada that I took part of was in Korsnäs in Sweden, I believe it was in 1982. So 82 was just 5 years after Srila Prabhupada had left this world, which meant that actually at that time, the majority of the movement was still consisting of Prabhupada disciples. So Vyasapuja in those days was, temple room was filled with devotees, and they had all been with Prabhupada. They had had encounters with Prabhupada. They remember things they had seen Prabhupada do. Prabhupada had said to them. And also, not only that, but the whole ISKCON was so permeated by talks about Prabhupada. It was, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but it was also the International Society for Prabhupada Consciousness, in many ways even more so. So, Vyasapuja, and they still are, Vyasapujas are still very much, Prabhupada becomes very present. But I remember, you can also remember, it was, it was as if Prabhupada was still there. It was so vivid. Everyone was talking about, how Prabhupada did this and he did that and he said that and in this situation and it was, and they all remember lectures in the morning and Vyasapuja and then again lecture in the evening. The whole thing was just about Prabhupada. Of course that, clearly as years go on, actually now we are 35 years after Srila Prabhupada. And those who actually met Prabhupada directly are becoming rarer and rarer. Now they always were, but now they're really like treasures that one has to appreciate deeply, that one is with someone who actually met Srila Prabhupada. Such a deep impression. He met the person that made such an impression on everyone. It's quite amazing because I was just in Alvik a few weeks ago. There were both Srila was there and Yadavar was there. There were two Prabhupada disciples who have both had quite a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada. Srila was the longest time servant of Srila Prabhupada. He served him for 2-3 years, something like that. And Yadavar, he made a film. I don't know if it was on the program. Maybe we should just put it on the program tonight to see whoever will wish it. Just find it on Prasad and then show you a little vision. It's the first biographical film about Srila Prabhupada, and it's just, every time when I see it, I've seen it so many times, but it's always touching. It's just like, just to give a mundane example, but every year at Christmas, there's always the same Walt Disney, isn't it? So, not to, but it's okay with traditions to have something we do it again and again, because actually it's it is same, fresh and new, and also it's the same old thing. That's what tradition means. It has to be the same again. So I guess it is why we see Jørgen will wish it tonight. So Yadavar Prabhu was the one who made that film, and he was there. So. And we had also quite a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada, and then of course I did a lot of research on Srila Prabhupada. So they were there, they were both talking about Srila Prabhupada, and it is as Prabhupada made such an impression on the devotees that the memory of him is as vivid today as it was back then. Maybe some detail might, that scene actually, to remember back 40 years is actually difficult to remember in detail, and often one remembers things. One is completely convinced that this happened and so on, but actually when one checks, it turns out, no, actually something else happened. There is an example that Harisori gave on it's actually, the story in Prabhupada in Amrita, when Prabhupada is leaving from Calcutta and he's going, he's boarding the Jaladuta, and it is really the narration is really, just from literary point of view, and it's so dramatic. Prabhupada is there, and he's, he grew up in Calcutta, and he had his family there, and we knew the whole town, and so many there. But now, so many years, has gone. He's back in Calcutta, and he doesn't know anyone. No one knows him. And there's just some distant acquaintance is following Srila Prabhupada. He's driving him down to the port, and then this, and then Prabhupada there, completely alone, almost abandoned by his be interested in Yalapuja. So you all know this story. This is very, very dramatic. Of course, the thing is, it never happened like that. It's interesting. After this was that was in Prabhupada time, and the Prabhupada was researched by Srila Maharaj, who didn't. I mean, Prabhupada is a masterpiece of a biography, and he did a lot of research and interviewed so many into this man who, then how to describe how he was the one who followed Prabhupada and there was no one else. Actually, then it turned out some years later, Prabhupada's diary came up, because actually Prabhupada kept a diary. And one devotee, Madan, he had kept this diary. And then it turned out actually Prabhupada had written about when he was living there. And he was with 5 friends, and this man, he was not there. So anyway, that's not to discredit. I mean, the whole mood is that is there. I mean, Prabhupada, even though there might be some inaccuracies,